Francis, could you tell me about one of the most valuable things that happened to Leicester City fans was a championship?
Yes, it was. We move forward to Leicester City. Why was it a one-hit wonder? I think it was a one-hit wonder because something like that will not happen for years to come. I stated that at the end.
You're no fun.
I don't want to be
I
pessimistic.
bet on Hull.
You won't see anything like that in sports for a good while. We just seen it with baseball. I don't think the Cubs were anywhere near as...
no, they're the best team in baseball.
Yeah, they were the best team. They came close last year. It's like Leicester City maybe knocking on the door a couple of years. No, Leicester City came from relegation and then went on and won it. So let's not compare. But there's a couple of things that go along with this. I'm not going to sit here and criticise Leicester for not living up to that expectation because I think one of their former ambassadors, Emil Heskey, said it very well. It's like, we need to realise that this is actually a return to the norm for Leicester. This is the kind of club that we expect them to be. A little up and down. Last year was a one-off. Our unrealistic expectations are making this team just impossible to please their fans because we've seen them win a league, something that was just completely unimaginable. And now we're like, all right, well, they should be pushing for this consistency. They already have proved that they can compete in the Champions League. They've already proved that they're still good enough to do it. But there is one thing that I will criticise, is they put a lot of faith. They offered new contracts, and the players returned the faith in the likes of Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez. At the moment, they're struggling. At this point last year, Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy combined had 19 goals already.
It's pretty good.
They were firing in all cylinders. Maybe they have a second-half surge, but at the moment, they're not anywhere near that level. And I think that is hindering this team because Leicester City last year, they didn't come out straight from the beginning of the season and just completely flew into that star position.
No.
They grew with confidence in looking to players like Mahrez and Vardy to help continue them through tough situations. So with the sale of N'Golo Kante and the struggle of these players, it is a troubling time for Leicester. It's not, oh my God, are we going to go from winning to be relegated? As much as that was an interesting bet at the start of the season, no.
What you do is you just hit your DVR to when they won it last
Just
year.
rewind it. That's what the rewind
just live a year in the past. Let's get to a couple important elements that I made exhausted this morning after watching Trump win the presidency. Element number 6 is Leicester City struggles. According to the Daily Mail, they think it's a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
It's never one specific one. You just mentioned Mahrez and Vardy failing to fire. I think it's more Mahrez and Vardy not firing like they did last season.
Yeah.
Natural order being restored, a Champions League condition where they are being very successful, new players betting in, he who shall not be named, N'Golo Kante, and the case for defense. I want to talk about defense, Francis.
Yeah.
Because let's take a look at one more statistic that they talked about in the Daily Mail. Final 16 games of last season, 9 clean sheets, conceded a total of 9 goals during that span. First 11 games of this season, 3 clean sheets, conceding a total of twice that amount, 18 goals.
Wow.
During that span. So, again, we're not looking at the same team. And then I have 2 more elements to show you. Let's look at the Premier League table from last year through this exact point, Week 12 of the Premier League. Leicester, 25 points, a point out of first, 7-4-1, and we're sitting there going, they're not going to win the league.
Yeah.
And then let's go to this year, and I have to zoom out a little bit more on that table because they're 12 points, they're 13 points back from where they were at this point last season, and Go Pool Go is in first with the
place. Yeah.
with the 8-2-1 record. So I mean, where Man City's sitting now is where Leicester sat last season.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going like, but Man City's got so much money, and my arm can't hold all the money up.
Yeah, it's there's a couple of points to take. Great elements, great insight to what we need to see. Drop the pen, but I'm going to say some things that I think a lot of the mainstream sources won't say because they like to kind of play alongside Leicester City and just allow them a free pass because they were so good last year. I think there is a level of complacency with Jamie Vardy. I think that last year I seen Jamie Vardy do things that you wouldn't expect a striker to do, like tracking back, chasing every ball into the corner, being mobile. I'm not saying that it's an attitude thing. I just think that it's more so he was thriving last year with the way the team was playing collectively. They were hunting. Like, this is the ball. They were hunting it, and they would suffocate teams. That's why they never really conceded that many goals because they scored, I think on average, 3 out of their, 4 chances in a certain span would be created from counter-attacks when they turned over the ball. It wouldn't start from nice, free-flowing football at the back and then we'll knock it in. No, I
remember a lot of 1-0 wins.
Yeah, of course. And they used to win the ball back and they knew, they had this attitude that as soon as we win that ball, we know we've got a good chance of scoring because we have a striker who, let's remind ourselves again, not just that him and Mahrez were firing at this point last year, he was breaking records. He scored in the most consecutive games in Premier League history. That's how good of a form he was in. So let's not really hold him to that unrealistic regard. The same way with Leicester, like he was phenomenal last year, untouchable. He was Ballon d'Or-esque worthy at this point. So you can't expect him to play that level, but what I can expect is the team to still kind of format as if they have the same players. They're not playing the same way. The back four's not as protected. Because N'Golo Kante's not there, they never filled that position as well. It was a really hard thing to kind of
They also didn't get much money for him.
Yeah, of course.
It's probably, I think it's only like the bad thing I could put on Leicester, I would say, is like they probably should have asked for more money to at least try to fill that void. Because what you're seeing, again, it was a gamble on both sides, because Chelsea, I think, looks at that situation and goes, we've only seen it develop over one Premier League season. Do we want to throw in that much? And Leicester's going like, we need to rob these guys.
Yeah.
We need to go into Chelsea, and we need to take all of their money for our Conte. And then you have to find a middle ground. That's just, I mean, again, I think that's how business works. What do I know?
Well, this is how.
Oh wait, I could be president. Sorry.
This is how I think that negotiation worked. I think they went to Antonio Conte. He sat in the room and they went, "We'll take 30 million," and then Conte went,
"Huh?
I
think
he was looking to see if there was cameras, like Ashton Kutcher was going to come in, like he was going to be punked.
Oh, you
or
guys
something
got
like that.
punked in Europe.
Yeah, we had it as well.
Yeah.
And he's like,
"It's good.
You're going to give me 30 million," and lo and behold, that would be the same amount that Tottenham Hotspur paid for Sissoko.
Are you serious?
Yep, same amount. So I think that's the best bargain of the season. I already stated this on
Best
a clip.
bargain. It might just be the best signing.
Yes.
Like not even just bargain.
Look
just
how good Chelsea are doing.
I think we're going to talk about, depending on how Chelsea finishes this year, and if let's say they were to win.
Yeah.
We can, maybe, I could be wrong, consider it one of the greatest Premier League signings in history. I know. Let's just be bold. Why not? It's the greatest signing I've seen in my time covering the Premier League, which is a very small window.
It's the greatest signing, I think, of this season so far. The season's still got a long way to go. Chelsea fall by the wayside.
in November.
Is another great season. Yeah, but he's a great signing, but he's not the best. But it really just comes down to what's going to happen. So I think that collectively, to wrap up this point on Leicester, it's unrealistic to hold them to the same standard of last year, but they are not doing the simple things well that they did last year. They never did anything that was so overcomplicated last year. They never did anything that you couldn't imagine another team doing. No. They just did everything excellent. They encompassed excellence in every part of the game. Closing down the ball, getting men behind the ball, winning it back, second balls. These are all things that you are taught from a very young age that will completely throw away talent and flair. They literally were the immovable object last year. Right. That's what they were.
And there was no unstoppable
force. There was no unstoppable force to hit them. So any force that even came in, it was just bouncing back. No problem.
It was only stoppable forces.
Yes, that's all.
The only type of force was stoppable.
So but the last thing that's frustrating is they're doing these things in the Champions League.